Speaker, the Honourable Prime Minister just repeated verbatim what was said in this House 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago. My question is very simple. 4.5 years ago, since March 2015, has it been established that the €2 million commission paid by Dufry to Free Jew, was that illegal or was that not illegal? Very simple questions.
Well, I must say that there are a number of countries which are involved in this issue, and I understand that there have been mutual legal assistance that have been applied for, and that the matters are, of course, taking time, but information are being received, and therefore the inquiry is ongoing. And I don't see what is the problem with regard to the time taken in view of the fact that a number of evidence have to be gathered from a number of countries.
So the Honourable Prime Minister mentioned that Dufry consisted of two shareholders, Mrs. Sonak and Mr. Guljari. Mr. Guljari is in Mauritius. I know from the Honourable Prime Minister whether Mr. Guljari has been investigated, has been questioned, has been arrested, has been prosecuted, or is it he's above the law and can't be touched?
Well, from what I understand, I am informed that statements have been taken from Mr. Guljari.
But then, Mr. Guljari in Mauritius, if he has not been arrested, it means that there is no prima facie case that Dufry has received commission. Otherwise, I would have expected Mr. Guljari to be behind bars by now, shouldn't I?
Speaker, I don't understand the Honourable Member's attitude with regard to this question. As I said, I have given a number of evidence that was already before the House. I have stated that there are bank accounts in Switzerland. There are people involved in other countries also. There is mutual legal assistance with regard to authorities of those countries. I don't want to mention the countries which are involved because it would not be proper. But I must say that there are a number of countries. That is why it is taking time. And of course, when the inquiry will be completed, the file will be sent to DPP for DPP to take action.
The chairperson of the Early Childhood Care and Education Authority is Mrs. Fauja Turawa. She is a holder of a BA Honours English, MA English, Masters in Educational Leadership and Management, and also holder of a certificate in the teaching of English to speakers of other language, a certificate in English language teaching to adults. As for Part B of the question, Madam Speaker, Mrs. Turawa has been appointed chairperson of the ECCEA in line with Section 6, subsection 1A of the ECCEA Act 2007. The incumbent draws a monthly allowance of 28,500 plus travelling in accordance with the provisions of the PRB 2016. With regard to Part C of the question, I wish to inform the House that Mrs. Turawa has not undertaken any overseas mission since her appointment as chairperson of the board.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. According to the Early Childhood Care and Education Authority Act of 2007, members are appointed for a period of 2 years. So may I know from the Honourable Minister, is there any reason why her appointment keeps on being renewed?
Madam Speaker, it is a matter of policy and the Ministry has decided to renew her contract.
Is the matter of policy of the Minister influenced in any way by the family ties which this lady has to various people in the cabinet and Mr. Majua, who just crossed over to your party?
Madam Speaker, I refuse to make any comment on such statements, which I consider to be totally irrelevant.
I don't understand the Honourable Minister. We have been criticized by Transparency International for the high rate of nepotism. This lady happens to be the niece of a senior member of cabinet. Doesn't the Honourable Minister find it necessary to justify to the public why another case of nepotism is being paid with taxpayers?
Madam Speaker, I believe that what the Honourable Member is saying right now is...
883.
Madam Speaker, on March 29, 2016, I mentioned in my reply to PQ B32 that over 3,000 cases of falsified horsepower certificates were being suspected by the police. In fact, as soon as the matter was reported, a series of consultations with the Attorney General's Office, the Director of Public Prosecution's Office, and the then National Transport Authority was held at the level of my ministry to agree on the course of action to be followed. A special desk was accordingly set up, and vehicle owners were invited through a press communique to voluntarily register modifications to their vehicles' horsepower certificates. A moratorium of 9 months from the 8th of March to November 2016 was given to them for that matter. I'm informed that about 8,200 vehicle owners subsequently called at the authority for such amendments. Moreover, government proceeded with the privatization of the vehicle examination, and 3 authorized vehicle examination stations were set up as from November 2016. With this arrangement in place, the risk of falsification of documents has considerably been reduced with enhanced control through the fully automated system. Madam Speaker, I'm also informed by the police that since 2015 to date, some 669 cases of alleged forgery on registration books for horsepower have been reported to the police for the purpose of inquiry. The status of these cases is as follows: classified 80, referred to DPP for advice 20, referred for court action 70, still under inquiry around 500.
From the Honourable Minister, what is the total amount of loss incurred to the government as a result of the owners of falsified horsepower paying less duty than otherwise they should be paying?
Well, you know, when this issue arose, we had there was one issue which was, in fact, I mentioned this here, that the solution was, in fact, to cancel the horsepowers and to ground those vehicles. And we had to take a decision on this, whether we were to ground those vehicles because of the falsification of horsepower. And we can imagine the social problems it would have created. That is why then we had decided, in fact, to ask everybody to come over so that we reconsider, that is the updating of the horsepower. I know that in the Public Accounts Committee report, this was mentioned that there was loss of revenue because of often the falsification of the horsepower was done in such a manner that you have to pay a reduced horsepower. But this has not been able, we have not been able to compute it for 8,000 people.
Then may I know from the Honourable Minister, since 8,000 people came voluntarily, surrendered their horsepower, got a new horsepower, so it's very easy. Each time you issue a new horsepower, you charge them for the fees that they have underpaid. So why was these 8,000 people who have not requested to pay the shortfall in the duty they had to pay?
This was not done, I think, because as a humanitarian, maybe a humanitarian measure at the time, given time in course.
The Honourable Minister has mentioned that there are certain cases that are being investigated, certain cases being referred to the DPP, certain cases being under investigation. And from the Honourable Minister, in which category of these cases does the case of Honourable Ganga falls? Because he's also been reported as having sold a car with a falsified horsepower.
Well, if anybody is involved, the inquiry is there, and I had said, I remember I had said then that the role of the police was to inquire, the role of the DPP was to prosecute, and the role of the NTA was to regulate. So any case will be dealt with by the police as it has to be dealt with.
Next question, Uteem.
B884.
Madam Speaker, I am informed by the Commissioner of Police that 2 cases have been reported to the Central CID in which the name of the former Attorney General, Mr. Y, has been mentioned. The CCID is investigating into the 2 cases. So far, statements have been recorded from several persons. And to date, no person has been arrested nor prosecuted. Inquiry is still ongoing in both cases.
From the Right Honourable Mr. Mento, whether he has inquired as to the reason for the delay in the police inquiry in this matter?
Well, am I supposed to inquire? I don't do inquiries.
And the Right Honourable Prime Minister is aware that this Javier Gadu was an Attorney General, not any ordinary person. He was a member of cabinet who was asked to step down because there was a police inquiry. So doesn't the Right Honourable Prime Minister Mento find it necessary to, if there is no case against this gentleman, at least there is no case against the gentleman. He can't be, everybody now thinks that he is subject to a criminal offence and the police inquiry is still ongoing.
Well, so far he is not subject to any offence. The inquiry is still on.
In this case, Madam Speaker, it was reported that there was one gentleman, Mr. Hussein Abdul Rahim, who first gave a statement against Mr. Yerigadu and then changed his statement under oath. So I know from the Right Minister Mento whether this gentleman has been prosecuted for perjury.
Well, this is a matter. If there has been a complaint, the police would have inquired, and I'll have to find out whether there has been an inquiry and whether there has been prosecution.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Since the fees are likely to run in the millions, I know from the Honourable Minister whether consideration would be given to having a tender process so that interested barristers can apply to be retained as counsel instead of, arbitrary selection by the STC.
Mr. Speaker, it concerns legal advice and it, of course, depends on case to case. But concerning the procurement method, I think everyone knows in the House, even the country, that procurement comes into play when expenses of services exceed a prescribed amount in the schedule of the Public Procurement Act, that is 100 million rupees.
Next question, Honorable Bagwan.